Mr. Tony Blair does not shy away from any topic in his new memoir. It's called A Journey. I read it. This is an important book and an interesting book. From the War on Terror to his relationship with Princess Diana and the royal family and our presidents. And yesterday, by the way, he received the 2010 Liberty Medal from President Bill Clinton. We are honored to have him with us. Please welcome former British Prime Minister Tony Blair. Did you think of leaving when you heard us?
Yeah, I just couldn't find the way out, really. It's quite a show.
It's not like Loose Women. This is a real...
Yeah. Look, there are days when we discuss other things, but not many.
I found it educational, actually.
What did you learn?
Your wife.
Well, all that stuff about women and oil and...
The Viagra for women, the sexual satisfaction. And
because obviously the trouble is, you know, as a prime minister, you'd lead too sheltered a life, really.
Oh, I know, yeah. But I know when you were prime minister, your wife was a very important lawyer. She made more money than you did.
Yes, she did. No. No, I didn't actually. I was interested in that conversation because I think it depends what your relationship is really, and for me, you know, if a woman goes through university or you know she goes and gets a job and she's got a career, I mean, why shouldn't she do as well, if not better than that?
Do you think it's only insecure men or men who are sexually inadequate who worry?
that's a loaded question.
Yes, I do, which is why I was never worried about it at all. My wife calls this program, don't take the call, okay?
I'll ask you something, though. Years ago, I interviewed British Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher when she was no longer Prime Minister, and she said that there were days when she wanted to pick up the telephone and say, I'll take care of that. Or she'd want to go to Downing Street. Do you have those days when you said, I should handle it? And if so, what time? When do you have to feel it?
You do sometimes. I mean, it's usually when there's a big crisis going on.
Yeah.
You know, because that's what you kind of think you're there for and you live for. But I'm still, you know, 2 days ago I was in Jerusalem. I'm still working on the Middle East peace process there. So you know, occasionally the phone rings. So I'm not, you know, I don't feel completely out of it, but it's not the same as when you were in office and you were right in the middle of things. But it's different. You know, the thing is that nowadays I can work on a small number of things. You know, I was thinking this when President Obama was having to deal with the oil spill and all the rest of it. You know, when you're president or prime minister, you deal with everything that comes on your desk. You know, whereas when you leave office, you've got the chance to choose your issues. You know, you decide, right, I'm going to work on this, this, and this. The rest of it you don't have to worry so much about. So it's easier at one way.
I want to tell people when they read this book, or if they look forward to reading this book, that it does, and we'll talk about it later, deal with our relationship with Iraq and Iran and very serious subjects. But there are also some human interest subjects that we found fascinating. One is that you were never quite comfortable with the Queen, and she was never quite comfortable with you.
Well, towards the end it was a lot easier. But at the very beginning, you know, I was kind of very nervous about it, really. Because when you become British Prime Minister, because she is the head of state, right? So you have this ceremony where you go in as Prime Minister and meet her for the first time, and you have to do this ceremony called kissing hands.
What?
Kissing hands, which means you go and kiss the hands of the Queen, and after that you are formally Prime Minister. So I went to Buckingham Palace just after we won the election, and we have elections of 4 weeks. Right?
Whether we did.
So it's rather different here. And anyway, you go straight in after the election. You've no downtime before you get straight on with the job. And I was there in Buckingham Palace, and just before I went in to see the Queen, there was this very, you know, Lord Chamberlain type of guy who was sort of standing there and saying, now, Mr. Blair, you should just remember, when you go and kiss hands with the Queen, you don't actually kiss her hands. You brush them gently. And I was completely bemused by this. I don't know what on earth he meant, so I was thinking, what does it mean? Anyway, as I went in, I was thinking of it so hard, I tripped on a little bit of carpet just before I got to where she was sitting, and I didn't so much brush her hands or even kiss her hands as fall on her hands. So that was my, and you know, when the first thing she said to me actually was that my first Prime Minister was Winston Churchill, and that was before you were born.
Did you see the movie The
Queen? Because they sort of have that scene.
I know. No, I actually didn't
haven't seen it?
I haven't seen it, and there's a story about that actually, which is that when the movie first came out, you have a weekly audience with the Queen, so I went and had my audience with the Queen. And she said to me, and in fact, she's a lovely and gracious lady, but she is the Queen, you know? So she sat there and she said, I hear there is a film. I said, yes, about us. I said, yes. She said, I just want you to know I shan't be watching it. So I then said, well, of course, and I won't either. And so I hadn't. No, I keep that. But my wife's watched it, my kids have watched it, everyone's
And
watched it.
she's watched it too, probably. I bet she
I
has.
actually really haven't, but it's partly because...
Really good.
To keep your word, you haven't.
I haven't, no, I haven't. But then I kind of think, you know, I went through it, so I don't need to watch the movie.
Well, you know what? You were very friendly with Princess Diana before she died in 1997. And in your book, you write, we were both in our ways manipulative people, good at grasping the feelings of others and instinctively playing on them. What did you mean by that?
I mean, that she and I think, both had a sense of where people could be moved to. And, you know, some people have said to me it's a very shocking admission to say as a politician you can be manipulative. But I kind of think it's pretty obvious, actually, in politics. So what I also go on to say about her, though, is that feeling about people came from something very genuine. And I remember particularly with HIV/AIDS victims, when she first met them and talked to them. And, you know, it seems nothing to us to say this now, but when she actually held the hand of someone with HIV/AIDS, it was a breakthrough moment for the way people looked at people with HIV/AIDS, but also for the way people looked at the monarchy. And she was an extraordinary, iconic, unusual person. She was a very, very great person, actually.
I have to ask you, you used to have a weekly ritual called the Prime Minister's Questions, where you were grilled by members of, it would be Congress for us, but it's Parliament in England. And they could ask you...
Yeah.
Okay. But he used to have it, and so do you miss it? Did they ask you questions that...
Do I miss it?
Yeah.
No. No, there was nothing worse. It used to happen for half an hour every Wednesday at midday.
Right.
And even today, wherever I am in the world, at 3 minutes to 12, a chill goes down the back of my head. Because they were terrible. I mean, because it's not like your situation at all, where, you know, people kind of read speeches into the record.
Right.
The place is full. Everyone's shouting at you.
Right.
They're making personal remarks at you, which often isn't picked up by the sound, but, you know, they're sitting opposite you and they'll be saying things like, oh, he looks dreadful today. What's going on? You know, really, like, you know, and you're trying to concentrate on answer. It was the most nerve-wracking thing I ever
And
did.
you were worried about us today?
It's a little different.
Well, we hope that you will stay with us, because there's a good deal more personal in this book, but we also have to come back and talk about the controversy with Iraq, which you've answered 1,000 times. We're going to do it once more. We'll be right back with the Prime Minister.